Yes, good morning, everyone. And thanks so much for coming along to this month's webinar. We will be focusing on navigating DCS 2.0. As mentioned earlier, Claire, our product manager here at CLA, will be going through a few important notes on timings for migrating to the new platform and also doing a live demo of the site for us. I'm sure we're all looking forward to seeing how the new platform is progressing and how it will be a more efficient platform for your HEI. Just a little note to say that today's session is being recorded and will be shared with all of you later this week. And you can also send the recording on to colleagues who couldn't attend or revisit any of the content yourself. Slides and the Q&A will be sent to registrants next week. You will all be muted throughout the session, but you can use the chat at the top of your Teams window to submit questions or comments at any time, and we'll be monitoring it throughout, so feel free to ask any questions on there. There will also be an open Q&A at the end of the session, as usual. If you have any audio troubles, audio is available through your computer speakers or by phone. And if you experience any poor sound quality, you can switch to phone audio via your device settings in Teams. You can select the three dots at the top of your screen and choose device settings. And this will let you choose another option for your audio's settings. And you already know our names and faces by now, but as mentioned, we are joined by Claire, a product manager here at CLA. I am Monica, a product support advisor here, and Stephen, the other advisor here at CLA. Moving swiftly on to our agenda of the morning. Today's webinar will be covering an introduction to DCS 2.0. Claire will be going through a few important notes on the new platform and its new and improved features, followed by a live demo. And finally, we will have some time at the end for any questions you might have. Also, feel free to use the chat for any questions you might have as we go through the presentation. And I will now hand over to Claire.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Monica. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year, if it's not too late to say that. Linda, I'm aware that you're asking me questions, so I will have a look at that after the webinar for you and get back to you as soon as I can. If anyone else is having the same problem, though, about not being able to find articles for beta testing, just pop that in the chat as well. So yes, thank you very much for joining us and thank you for bearing with us whilst we prepared this webinar. I know a lot of you are really keen to get a look at the new platform and get a better idea of when we will be migrating. So hopefully this session will give some clarity around any unanswered questions there. So the all-important launch date. We are aiming to launch the DCS 2.0 on the 16th of March of this year. And I believe that Imogen discussed this timeframe with a group of users last year, and it was decided that usage is likely to be lower than normal at this time. So this is why this has been chosen. We also know that this launch has been pushed back a couple of times, so we wanted to get the new platform to you as quickly as possible, which is another reason why March was chosen over downtime in August. So with the launch imminent, I'd like to talk about a few very important things that need to be done between now and then. So I am going to move on to talk a little bit about the freeze and migration. So this slide is going to contain the key dates for your diaries. And as always, this deck is going to be shared with you after the call, but please do make sure these dates are shared with library colleagues, students and academics, as they will all be affected in some capacity during this time. So the first step will be to freeze the DCS 1.0, and this will happen on the evening of Friday, the 6th of March. Users will still have access to the system, but it will be read-only from 5 p.m. until 2.0 launches on Monday, the 16th. So this means you will be able to access the system and all the data stored within it if you need to, but you won't be able to action anything, and no new content requests can be made during this time. All content links will remain active, so whilst new content requests can't be made, students will still be able to access everything that is currently published throughout this period. However, from the 12th of March, the content links will switch from pointing to DCS 1 to DCS 2, and this unfortunately will mean that any students that make use of the Cortext Advanced Reader, not the anonymous reader, the advanced, won't be able to make use of the advanced features. So just to reiterate, the anonymous reader will be fully functional, and we are in ongoing discussions with Cortext about when they will be able to integrate the advanced reader with the new platform. And I will talk about this in more detail during the demo. I realise this isn't fantastic news for HEIs whose students do make use of the advanced reader, so please do bear with me, and I will go into this in more detail very shortly. And finally, we plan for the launch of DCS 2.0 on the 16th of March. All data from 1.0 will be migrated, so there's nothing that you will need to do to set up your accounts. You'll simply need to set a new password and log in. We are, of course, working on updating the knowledge base and will ensure you receive detailed comms on how the new system works, but I do want to stress that the platform is designed to be the same as the DCS 1.0 for the launch on March the 16th. So certain aspects will look a bit different, and we do have some small enhancements and improvements, but the core journeys are the same. So we're not going to be letting you loose on an entirely different system that you won't know how to use. So before I move on to the demo, oops, I've clicked too far forward. I realise there's quite a lot of important information there. So does anybody have any questions or concerns about any of the dates or plans that I've just been through? Because I'm sharing my screen, I don't have access, or I'm not directly looking at the chat. So Stephen or Monica, if you could shout, that'd be great if anything comes in.
Yep, nothing so far, but feel free to ask your questions, everyone.
Sure,
And
I will.
Oh, Richard has one.
I don't know if we're able to unmute Richard, so you might have to, pop it in the chat. Just going to switch my screen.
Pauline has asked. Yeah, go ahead, Monica.
No, that's okay. You've started.
Okay.
Stephen?
Pauline has asked if there'll be any downtime for students other than the Cortext aspect.
No, it will only, the links will switch over from 1 to 2, but everything will remain live for students throughout this period.
Amanda has asked if applying OCR would become defunct after that.
If I'm understanding, so do you mean would OCR become defunct during the switch? No, nothing will change in terms of the content that's been loaded and what's available. But if I've misunderstood you, please do pop something else in the chat. So yeah, just to be very clear, anyone that accesses the DCS or uses the DCS to create content requests won't have the option to, but students will be unaffected. They'll be able to access everything. I see, when Cortext becomes unusable. I will have to get back to you on that. I don't know, Stephen or Monica, if you know if OCR is available in the anonymous reader. I assume that it is, but I will get back to you on that.
Fairly certain it is, yes.
Yes, okay. I think Cortext has that built in as a feature for most.
Great. Thank you. Well, we'll make a note of that for the Q&A and make sure we get back to you. Okay.
Ellen has asked, Richard has asked, we have the DCS integrated into Talis Aspire. Are Talis aware about the pause in new requests? And will staff get an error after filling in the request form?
Yes, so we would ask that you pass these dates on to your staff so that requests aren't made because they will fail. So there will be an error message. The API will be turned off. It will also be frozen. So any requests made during this time just won't go anywhere. So again, it's fine if your staff make them. They will get an error response, but it would be much appreciated if you could pass this on to them to stop them wasting their time in sending requests that won't go anywhere. What will happen to existing EHAS requests in the system? So perhaps requests we have sent but have not yet had a response from the BL. Yes, they will all be migrated in their current status. So anything that is open will come over to the new system and then we will go from there. That's a very good question, Ellen. But everything in its current state will be migrated as it is. Will digitisation links need switching off on reading list platforms? No, we have done a lot of work, or the developers have done a lot of work, I shouldn't take credit, that the links will stay exactly the same. So anything that is existing on 1.0 will be exactly the same on 2.0. The links will stay the same. There's no need to change or switch anything from your side on reading lists. Yeah, correct, Pauline. If you don't use the Cortex reader, there'll be absolutely no change come the 12th of March. Again, your settings will be migrated. So if that's switched off in 1, it'll be switched off on 2. And Catherine, good question. When Cortex becomes unusable, will HEIs need to switch to the anonymous reader? No, you won't need to make any changes. The anonymous reader will open automatically. There just won't be the option for them to sign in. We do have a workaround, which I will discuss in a little bit more detail. It's not the most elegant solution, but there is still a way for students to get the DCS content into their accounts. But there's nothing we'll need to do to change to make the anonymous reader available.
Amanda, I've popped an answer to your question regarding the OCR function with Cortex Reader on the chat, just to clarify. Unfortunately, it doesn't always include OCR unless there is an OCR PDF available on the Cortex Reader itself. It is an advanced reader function, unfortunately. But as Claire said, it might be something that we can integrate in the future. But upon launch, it will be the anonymous reader with DCS2.
Yeah, and just to be clear, thank you for that, Monica. we do wholeheartedly plan to be integrating with the advanced reader as soon as we can. It's just conversations with Cortex at the moment as to when this is going to happen. Obviously, we have asked for it to be as close to March the 16th as possible, and as soon as we have a date, we'll be sharing this with you. So I think for now, I'm going to move onto the demo. So Stephen and Monica, if you could just keep an eye on those questions, that'd be fantastic, as I will be looking at a different screen. Could I just get some thumbs up if you can see a CLA DCS test account on screen? Perfect, thank you very much. So I'm going to take you through a couple of the core journeys on the new DCS right from the get-go of logging in, because logging in will look ever so slightly different as we've added an extra layer of security. So as I mentioned at the beginning, once we've switched over, everything will be in the DCS. You won't need to do anything to set up your accounts other than set up a new password. And just a word before I get into this, I'm sure you're sick of me saying this, especially people that are beta testing. This is a UAT environment. It is not a finished product, and development is ongoing. So we don't have a production environment yet, and neither do we have any migrated data in this system, although we have been testing prior to this. So everything you see in this demo will be test data that the team at CLA have created under the fictional HEI of CLA. So once you have been set up, you will be able to sign into your account. There is a slightly different process for setting your password, but this will all be explained before launch. So once you have your password set up, you simply pick your email address for your account, and then you will either need to authenticate via your Authenticator app or use your password to receive an email. I always go for this option. So you enter your password, opt to receive an email code, which will take a couple of seconds to come in. That's great. And then you just copy and paste the code to verify, and then you will be logged in to the system. And this is the DCS 2.0 dashboard. So for those of you that haven't seen it, I think I've shown you some screenshots in webinars before. You can see it doesn't look too different to the DCS 1. Everything you'd expect to see there is still here. So we have our announcements, our go-to request, which we have added academic request ID to. So you have your request ID, ISN, BL order ID, or academic request, which you can enter and then search by clicking go. We have our quick search function. So that's toggling between books and articles. I will go into this in more detail on the Search and Discover tab later. And then we have our academic requests tile, which again you will recognize. If you use the academic request form or if you use an RLMS integration, all new academic requests will come through to this section here. And then we have license compliance, content, and EHES, again, all of which should look very familiar to you. And as with 1.0, you can get rid of or hide anything that you're not interested in. So if you don't want to see these, you can just minimize them or maximize them when you want to. And then we can move on to our left-hand navigation pane. So we have Search and Discover, which is where you will search for all content in the DCS as you normally do. You can toggle between books and articles, and you can choose from the following drop-down options to search for all records that has content in the DCS, born digital content or crowdsourced. So again, this is the same. If you want to just search for ISBNs that have publisher supplied content available for copying, you can choose as born digital, or if you want to use an ISBN or an article that has crowdsourced content already available, you can choose this option. Next, I'll move on to requests in progress. So this is active requests in DCS 1.0, just under a new name. It does exactly the same thing. So this is where any live requests that haven't had their link generated yet will show. This is also a good time to show you some of the new table management features. So we realize that there can be quite a lot of data in some of the DCS tables. So you've got your options to sort, as you always did. So you can sort alphabetically or numerically. If you want to hide columns, you can do it manually. If you don't care about the status, you can hide it, or you can come into this Manage Columns section and choose what you would like to remove. It's completely up to you, and this only changes on your own account. It won't affect your colleagues' accounts, and this will stay. It will remember your preferences after you log out and back in again. So hopefully that will be a little bit better in personalizing your accounts. And we also have the option to delete in bulk now. So if you click this button, you can select all if you would like to, but as you can see here, you can't delete anything that hasn't been assigned to a user yet, but anything that is active, pending, assigning content, you can get rid of them if you would like to do so all in one. You don't have to, you can just individually, if you don't want them there, you can tick these and then click delete selected requests. And of course, we have our search bar as well at the top, which is the same as you would expect to see in 1.0, and our menu at the end. So you can view details of the course, open it in a new tab, or you can use this button to delete it as well. Moving on to completed requests. So again, as I mentioned, this is data that we have just been playing around with. None of it is real. So we have 4 completed requests, and this is where all requests with a generated link will sit, and the same table management rules apply here. On to reporting, this will look very similar to 1.0 with the small exception in that we have merged the HEI report with the downloads per content item report. So you will notice that there's one less report sitting up here. And the reason for this is because there was so much duplicated data, we thought it made sense to just merge them to have one mega report, if you like. So if you want to run your HEI report, you can do it for the whole academic year, but then you have the added option now of whittling that down to month, week, quarter, whatever it is that makes most sense to you at your HEI. And the other reports are exactly the same: requests in progress, EHES, and rejected requests. Now, moving on to my institution, this looks a little bit different to 1.0, and I think it makes a little bit more sense. It's not just everything shoved onto one page. So we have the first tab, which is our account data, which includes everything from your CLA account code, institution name, and DCS ID. We also have your reporting format, and you'll notice that this is blank. This is a known bug that we are working on, but if I click edit, you'll be able to see what the options are. So you have DCS, CLA form, or other. This is something that you won't be able to edit yourselves. This will all be done by CLA on the admin end. But if for whatever reason you decide to change your reporting format, we realize this won't happen very regularly, we can change that for you. But if you're ever unsure, you can come to your account data tab and it will tell you your preferred reporting format. If we move on to settings, this includes things like your logo and your email notification settings for new requests and EHES. We realize that not everyone has an EHES account and not everyone has opted in for new academic requests. So if you don't use those, they'll both be toggled off. And again, just to reiterate at this point, all of this data will be an exact match for what's in 1.0. So you don't have to set any of this up again. It will all be migrated over from the original platform. And then this will look new to all of you. So we have now the added feature of pick lists. So if you want to add school, faculty, departments or subjects, you can do so here. This is completely optional. You don't need to do it, but we realize that some people like to have a lot more kind of information on their courses. So this is where you can add those individually, and you can just scroll through. You can add as many as you like. There is no upper limit, and you can scroll through. Quite self-explanatory. And moving on to integrations, we have our LMS configuration at the top. Again, this will all be pulled over from 1.0. No need for you to set this up again. Your British Library configuration, if you make use of EHES. This section here is null and void at the moment, but we are working hard on integrating SEPs fully to the DCS, as has been requested by a number of our HEIs. So if you do have a second extract permissions account and you want to make use of it through the DCS, your details will show in this section. And I will come on to this in a little bit more detail later, but this is due for release after the 16th of March. We'll be having a milestone 1 and a milestone 2, but that is on its way. And then we have our API user configuration, again, which is the same as DCS1. Next is our authentication. So whether you use manual, IP, easy proxy or shibboleth, that will be shown here. Again, all pulled through from DCS 1.0, so no need for you to make any changes unless you want to. If you have to add new ranges, you can go ahead and do that. And if you do need to change your authentication method, please just get in touch with support and we can make those changes for you. And the final tab is users, which is now split between HEI users, lecturers and students. So this is all, this is data from CLA and our development. None of this is your data, don't worry. And yes, you can search through, you can archive, you can delete as you could before, and you can search by status for active and inactive. And that leads me nicely into the full users tab. And I just want to note here that we now have different user types in the DCS. So we have, if I go to add new, we have HEI user, lecturer or student. So this is how you would create someone new. You just choose, actually, I don't want them to be an HEI user. I just want them to be a lecturer. And you'll notice the HEI user role disappears if you use lecturer or student. But if you are choosing HEI user, you have another level here. So you can choose to make a user a DCS admin who has full access to the DCS, including institution settings. They can make EHES orders and SEPs purchases if you make use of EHES and SEPs. And they also have the option to edit institution settings such as authentication and integrations. We then have DCS users who can create and manage content requests, which I should have mentioned DCS admins can do as well, but they won't necessarily be able to make SEPs purchases, but they will be able to make EHES orders. And then DCS viewer, which is the, I don't want to say lowest rank, that sounds bad, but it's just the read-only access of DCS. You don't need to make use of these if you don't want to. We know lots of universities have different sizes and different setups of teams. So if everybody is a DCS admin, that's fine. It's all completely up to you how you use those settings. And yes, just worth mentioning that DCS admins can change user settings at any time that they want. And it's just as easy as adding first name, last name, and email. And you will be notified if you're trying to add duplicates. You won't be able to add someone if they're already in the system. So it will stop you from adding multiple people with the same contact details. Now I'm going to move on to courses. Again, this will look very familiar to you. This tab lists all of the courses associated with your HEI. And again, you're able to change what you see on the table if you want to, so you can hide. This is quite a hefty table. There's a lot of stuff in here. So if you want to hide them, you can do that in the same way that I showed you earlier on the requests in progress table. And you can also add courses individually here. And this should look very familiar from DCS 1.0. And you also have options on this side. So you can edit the course here. you can open the details in a new tab. You can view the content, clone course, archive, or delete, all from this tab here if you would like to. The course upload tab is where you will bulk upload courses if you want to. Again, just want to stress, you won't have to do any of this once you've migrated over. This is more pertinent for when you're changing courses at the end of the year or if you're onboarding to the DCS. If you have 7,000 courses in DCS 1.0 or 12 courses, they will all be reflected in your account once you move over. So this will work in exactly the same way, whether you're doing courses or students, as it does in DCS 1.0. You have the option to download current data or download the template, fill in your course or student information, upload the CSV file, and the interface just looks a little bit cleaner. You will be able to see when the upload is queued, when it's in progress, when it's completed, and then you can download the report. If there are any errors, the system will tell you. It will tell you what the errors are, so you can clean them up, and then you can reload them. And we also have a new feature for DCS admins for check all permissions. So as most of you will know, at the end of the year in August, I think it is, we do a bulk recheck to make sure that all of the content that you've been using for the past year is rechecked with the most recent permissions. And we wanted to give DCS admins the opportunity to do this themselves without having to rely on CLA. And this is as simple as clicking this Start Check button, yes, start, and then similar to the course upload page, you'll see that the permissions check is queued, and it will take a little bit of time. You will receive an email when the check has started and when it's completed, and then all of the different permissions will then show on your dashboard as they do on 1.0. So if something that was covered before is no longer covered, you'll be able to check that. And of course, we wouldn't recommend doing this too regularly, otherwise you'll be constantly checking permissions. This only needs to be done at the end of the year. And then quite self-explanatory, we have the Contact Us and Terms of Use section at the bottom, but just want to draw your attention. There we go, we can see that's completed, to the Get Help feature, which we were, so Contact Us is more generic CLA contacts if you wanted to talk about licensing queries. But if you notice trouble with the DCS itself, and this goes for beta users as well, this was in your FAQ document, you just need to click Get Help and you can send a message to us to say, I'm having some issues, something's not working, and that will come through to our support team. There is also the added helpful feature of clicking Copy Support Link. You can see down here, link is copied to clipboard, send message, and you can type it in here so that the product support team know exactly where to go. If you say, I'm trying to check all permissions and it's not working, I keep getting these error messages. If you make sure that you copy the URL and type, I am having problems here, Stephen, Monica, myself can have a look at the page specifically and see what's wrong. So that is how we would like you to start raising queries. Of course, if you would prefer just to use an email, that's also fine. It will still come through to us, but we do have the option now within the DCS itself. So I am now going to run through, I'm aware I can't actually see the chat, so I know there are probably some questions coming through, but I will get to all of these at the end. I'm just going to run through the search and discover content request journey just to show you what you'll be doing day to day. So again, as I mentioned right at the start, books, articles, exactly the same, and you have your select content. So I am going to search here for all records. So we can see here, if you hover over this, there's a Born Digital piece of content available here, and there's a lot of other content which doesn't have this. And before I move on, actually, for articles, there is a new feature for ISSNs, which are included in multiple journals. So if you search for something, oh, perfect. I've used a rubbish example. I'm very sorry. Let's see if I can get another one. Yeah, so you'll see here that so some ISSNs will be part of multiple journals, and the DCS will let you know if that's the case. So you can just check here which one it is you want to use and go on with the rest of your journey. So I will come back to books now and choose this section. This will all look very, very similar. We've got our metadata details, and we have our license verification section and our page range. So I will just choose page 7. And again, this will all look very, very familiar to all of you. Hopefully you'll agree it looks a little bit cleaner, but you'll see you have your content request ID, the status it's in, the created date, last modified, and the person it's assigned to. You also have the option to delete the request. And if you want, obviously you know that you can't change ISBNs once this is started, so you have the option to change the title. If for whatever reason you think, oh, this is the wrong one, but I've already gone through some of the checks below, you have the option to change to a different title if you would like to. So it's just basically a second step of search and discover. You can choose a different title here if you want to, and then that will change the request title in the content request. So I'm going to come out of that and come back to the ISBN that I chose to start with. And again, we have amend metadata. This works ever so slightly differently to how it did in 1.0. So you can see that where we have information missing, you can add it. And then, as you see, that's auto-populated the edition and total pages in book. This will make the change immediately on your content request. So if I click save, you can see this information is populated and you get a little tick down here to say it has been updated. However, this will come through to us on the admin side. So product support, as before, will check to make sure that the changes you've made are correct. So for the moment, when you're looking at your content request, this will be correct for you. This is what you see, but until we've checked it on our side, these changes won't have been made to the actual record itself. Hopefully that all makes sense. We then move down to extract details. You'll notice here that we have edit buttons at the beginning of each section, which is slightly different to what we have in 1.0. So in order to make any changes, you just need to hit that edit button, and then you can add your chapter information if you want to, and hit save. Again, you get your confirmation toast message at the bottom. Academic year remains the same, and of course this is uneditable. We are in the past in UAT, so this is why this is sitting at 24-25, but obviously you will be in the most recent academic year when we migrate over. License verification, again, this should look very familiar. The only difference here is that you will need to hit the edit button if you want to make any changes. So you can see here that, again, I'm in the test environment, so we're not hooked up to an integrated LMS. So I will need to manually override this. This will look familiar to you. You have your options here, catalogued, owned but not catalogued, other or copyright fee, and you have your tooltips here to explain what these mean if you're not familiar. So I will hit catalogued. And in order to move on, you do need to click save just to ensure that that data is stored ready for you to continue. And next we have course and lecturer. So you have the option here to clone to another course if you want to. Again, this is familiar to you from 1.0. So you just need to select the course that you want to assign it to. If it doesn't already exist, you can add the new course and then create the content request. And all of the data that you've just input will clone to the second course. I'm just going to add to a course here, very imaginative CLA test course 2, and save. You have the option to add a lecturer or to assign to a lecturer. We don't currently have any lecturers in test, but similar to DCS 2.0, this isn't mandatory. And then we come to our extent limits. So again, the DCS will tell you whether or not any extracts are being used for this course. None here, we've got our green tick, so that's okay. You can see here that the percentage is unknown because the total pages are unknown, but if I add that here, as I did above, the system will work it out that it's less than 10%. You've only used 0.14, and that's great. Big tick, you can carry on. And now we come to the crowdsourced, the source content section, which again will be very familiar to you. Just to be really confusing, we will be changing the name Born Digital Sources to Publisher Supplied, and crowdsourced will be HEI supplied. It's been decided that these names are a little bit misleading. So we're going to be changing those. Those will be done for launch, but hopefully that doesn't confuse people too much. Nothing else will change. Born Digital and Publisher Supplied are exactly the same thing, and same for crowdsourced. So if there were a Born Digital source here, you would be able to select the piece of content and create your piece of content as you would before. The only exception here is that the whole book will be available. You simply need to select it and the pages will show up for you. It won't say the exact page range. And a very interesting new feature we have, which is being worked on at the moment, so I'm not able to show you in UAT, but it is called our page range check. And that is something that we realized people had a lot of issues with Born Digital content in page ranges being offset. So if you choose pages 10 to 20, for example, you were getting pages 15 to 25. So the range check is a tool that allows you to check which pages have been generated, and if they're slightly out, you have the option to shift those pages yourself within the DCS, so you don't need to get in touch with us and wait for us to make those changes. You can do it yourself, and of course the preview function will be there to make sure that this is exactly what you're looking for. You have the option to order from EHES, which will work in exactly the same way as it does. We are still in conversation with the British Library about a full integration, but we've been told that this is not going to be ready until well after April. So you can still continue to make EHES orders in the same way. We will just have the Wizard of Oz kind of system where they'll all come through to product support and there'll be the manual intervention. And that is just done as it was before. EHES order details here. You can place your EHES order and you will come through to a nice EHES order page, which will tell you what's going on. So it's processing, it's been submitted, you'll have your order details and your prices up here and the all important order type, whether it's outsource, scan or copyright fee paid. Then in the background, Stephen and Monica will work their magic and they will get the content. And once it is able to be fulfilled, they will upload it for you. If it's unable to fulfill, they will let you know and this status will update. So you'll always be kept in the loop. And if I come back to go to request, you'll see that you have this information sitting here in source content as well. So you always know what's going on with those orders. And then lastly, add document. So this is just the trusty way of adding your piece of content. Again, another improvement we're going to be making is adding on top of OCR, we will have reflow tagging and alt text. And the way this is going to work is you will be able to select whether or not the content you're loading has alt text or if it has reflow tagging. You will also have the option to say that you don't know. And then in our backend, the Vault system will work out whether or not it does have those features and apply it for you. And these will show in the source content for other users to make use of. So again, that is being worked on for milestone 2. So bear with us, but we hope that that will be a welcome change. So I'm going to open a book and create this. And you'll see that we have a pending source. And when this says pending, you can still use it. You can just select it and you're able to generate the link. But I just want to mention here, the reason it's sitting in pending is because there needs to just be a confirmation process in the background in the Vault for it to ingest the manifestation, make sure it sits within our system. And once that's happened, which won't take very long, I mean, a maximum of about 12 hours, it will then, once it's been approved, come into crowdsourced and other HEIs will be able to use it. That doesn't mean you can't use it immediately. So as soon as you've uploaded it, it will be available to your HEI. And then as soon as it's approved, it will be available to all other HEIs. And now I can generate the link. And again, this should all look very similar to 1.0. You've got your ability to add notes here. And I should add here as well, if there are page ranges that aren't, so I've gone for page 7, if 8, 9, and 10 were here, they would show in the other page ranges available for the title. So I'm now going to copy this and just show you, it's another mention of the core text reader. So if you do make use of it, the content will open as it always has in the anonymous reader, and you will be able to tab through my really imaginative book, Hello, This is a Book, and do all of the things that you would do in the anonymous reader. If you make use of the advanced reader, as we spoke about earlier, obviously students would be automatically logged in. That won't happen they will land on this page, and so they can either just use the anonymous reader, or, and I will send this to you in writing so that you can share it with your students, as it's a bit of a convoluted process. What they can do is download the file to their machine, and then they can go to Cortex separately, sign into their account, upload the file, and then it will end up in their Cortex bookshelf. So it is possible to get DCS content in there. It just unfortunately won't be the seamless transition that it is in DCS 1.0 for March the 16th. But we are having conversations with Cortex. They are ongoing, and I really hope that we can get that integrated for you as soon as possible. So that just about concludes the demo. Hopefully that has kind of shown you the fact that it's not a really scary system. It works much the same as 1.0. We have improved some features, and hopefully it will be a little bit more intuitive for you to use. I'm going to stop sharing now and answer some questions. I don't know if there's a lot that has come through. I feel back in the room now. I can see people's names.
I have answered some in the chat, Claire, but some were regarding SEPs.
Okay.
And then we have a couple come in just now. Diana has asked, it's great that we will be able to check and amend pages from Born Digital, publisher supplied to, which I think is correct.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So as I mentioned, we had some issues with Born Digital of people saying, you know, what are these page ranges? They're not what I selected. So the range check will allow you to change those completely. And of course, it is trust-based, as a lot of the system is. So obviously, we trust you not to choose the whole book when you're in there, but it will work just the same way as a PDF page range checker does. You'll be able to enter the page range you want to look at. You'll be able to tab through pages on the left-hand side. And as soon as that is ready and working in UAT, I'll be able to show you that.
And Ben has asked, will the API be unchanged / fully compatible with 1.0 API? In other words, if we have the Alma Leganto API integration set up currently, will we need to make any changes, or will it continue to work exactly as before?
You don't need to make any changes. There will be a very, very slight change to the API, but that only means there'll be a couple of fields added. So I can send you information on that when I send out all of the comms. But for you and for Alma Leganto, we've been in touch with them, and we've done, again, I say we, this happened when Imogen was here, lots of testing was done, but there's nothing you will need to do at your side to change API integrations. It will all be ready and working from the 16th. This is a good question, and one I've actually asked myself about advanced Cortex reader users. We don't have access to that data because it's not our platform. We've asked Cortex if they can give us the data, but they're not allowed to share it. So what I would recommend is, if you wanted to know, it might be worth you getting in touch with Cortex personally to see if they can give you your HAI's data. But unfortunately, it's not something that CLA holds. Linda has asked, why would you want to add students in the user section? Great question. It is because it might be if you want to use manual authentication. So if you don't have anything, sorry, I've just seen Kevin's message. If you don't have Easy Proxy, Shibboleth, or Open Athens, you need users to authenticate via username and password. So that's why you would add students. If you want more information about that, I'd be happy to pass it on. But that's mainly for smaller universities that don't have any other integrations.
Ben has asked, thanks Claire, one more question. For Shibboleth authentication, will the SP entity ID remain the same for 2.0? In Open Athens, we control access by resource, i.e. entity ID, so we would need to know if we have to set up a new one to retain access.
So we don't have to for Shibboleth. I have been in touch with a couple of HEIs about testing. So the only reason we would ever need to change it is for the production and the test environments, but the URL will be the same, or the domain will be the same once we switch over to 2.0. So again, no changes you need to make there.
Nice.
Cool. Well, let's give it another couple of minutes.
Yeah.
See if anyone has any other questions. But just again to reiterate, I will be making sure that you get information that you can pass on to students and to academics. As we said, students shouldn't be affected at all. The links will remain active. They won't even know about the freeze, but academics will need to know, as I said, that anyone that uses a reading list management system for content requests, they will be frozen for that period between the 6th and the 16th. It's not the end of the world if requests are made. As I said, I just don't want people to be wasting their time thinking that we're ignoring their requests. It just won't happen during the 6th to the 16th. So I think to save us all sitting in silence, we'll probably call it a day there. But we will follow up with a Q&A. As always, we will share the recording. And if anyone, Linda, I will get back to you about your query for beta testing. Thank you very much for raising that. And of course, if anyone else on the call is part of the beta testing that has issues, please do continue to raise them with product support. And we're really keen to kind of see what you think. We appreciate it's not fully functioning yet. There's no data in there. It's not quite over the line. But yeah, really keen to kind of hear your thoughts.
We just had one more question come in. Yeah, you got it, Mike. It's for the admin users. Can they only do bulk changes like deletions?
What do you mean by that? For admin users, can they only do bulk changes like deletions? It won't be any different to what's on 1.0. So you can change your authentication, you can bulk delete courses and users, yes. So do you mean, is it only admin users that can bulk delete courses and users? Right, I see. Yes, it will be admin users and DCS users, but DCS viewers won't be able to do that. Hopefully that answers that one. Cool. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I appreciate that was a lot of me talking, but hopefully that was useful. And as normal, please get in touch if you have any more questions, concerns, and we'd be happy to address them. And we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Have a good rest of your week.